Over 300 people charged to the Flagstaff House to register their discontent with what they describe variously as harsh economic conditions and bad governance in the country. But Ghana's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has expressed surprise on her Twitter handle on the low turnout of the Occupy Flagstaff House demonstrators on Republic Day, July 1, 2014. This is today's big story. My name is Prince Minka.
The president's got 18 months, and we are expecting to do well in the next 18 months. Otherwise, where the country is plunging into, nobody knows where we're going.
Welcome to the program. Well, in a series of Twitter comments today, Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Minister Hannah Tete went from mocking the trigger of the demonstrations to indicating the numbers did not reflect the social media campaign that preceded the event itself. For the demonstrators, the current economic situation in the country does not assure them that Occupy Flagstaff House, the organizers say every Ghanaian deserved to be happy and are tired of talking about hardship on social media. Well, it was time to coincide with the celebrations of Ghana's 54th Republic Day, which of course is today, July 1, the day that the country totally weaned itself from British colonial rule. Let's listen to some of the demonstrators early on today.
The corruption is eating us like cancer. It's eating us deep. So the masses, the middle class, they came up, the doctors, the bankers, and everyone came up that enough is enough. We need good governance. The government need to promote Ghanaian entrepreneurs, because all the entrepreneurs are dying.
I mean, look at the time spent. We create a lot of situations, panic situations, where people take different kind of measures based on the policies. And so we need them to be focused, resolute, and if they can't, they don't have the ideas. There are a lot of professionals around. Invite them, let them contribute. That's all they should be open. We are not saying they can do magic, no. And the Rome was not built in a day, we understand. But they should be more open, more transparent, and curb the corruption.
Well, shortly we'll be speaking to presidential staffer Dr. Kpesa White. But after a thorough process getting into the Flagstaff House itself, leaders of the non-partisan demonstrators told Joy News they'll keep their fingers crossed as far as assurances given them is concerned. Listen.
We were received and we presented the petition to the Deputy Chief of Staff, who promised us to forward the petition to the President and that they were going to act on it. What we intimated to her was that we want a swift response from the President, swift action. And we hope that the President will act accordingly and favorably to the petition, and that he would not give us reason to repeat this demonstration.
The government has spoken. Then again, whatever that the Deputy Chief of Staff said is what we've been hearing for how many years now. So for us, it's still the same old story. So we actually see something happening. It is just talk, and talk you will ignore. So, but in the meantime, the movement will still keep going. There are a few things that we would have to sit down and discuss as leaders of the movement. And in due course, I'm sure people will get to know, a lot more plans that we've had. What's it called? Hashtag, right? Yeah.
Well, those were the demonstrators. But talk about quick response. President John Dramani Mahama says he shares in the disappointment and frustrations of all concerned Ghanaians. And he was addressing senior citizens at the banquet hall in commemoration of Republic Day. Well, the president said he has neither forgotten his promise to the people of Ghana when he was sworn in as president, nor his ability to listen.
It is not enough for me to say that I share many of the same disappointments and frustrations that have been expressed, though I do. And it is not enough for me to say that I have every faith in government's ability to meet the goals we have set for the country once these difficult periods are behind us, and I do. What I will, however, say is that as citizens of Ghana, I want the same safety and stability for my children's future that all of us want for our children. I want all of our children to have the same opportunities available to them to rise to their highest potential. I want all of our children to feel entitled to the habit of asking for more and be confident in the knowledge that that more can be attained.
President John Dramani Mahama. But let us get some reactions now as there are new developments. We already know that Foreign Affairs Minister Hannah Tete said on her Twitter page earlier on today that Occupy Flagstaff House crowd, the numbers, well, never mind. Those are comments from Honorable Hannah Tete, just as you can see on your screen there. And obviously another one, their social media campaign was much more effective than the actual turnout. That's from the Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Hannah Tete. And this one, she talking about the fact that every citizen's concerns are important. But after listening to all of them being heard on radio and seeing the number involved, it's surprising. So what does this really mean? Let's speak to presidential staffer, Dr. Kpesa White. Thank you very much for joining us on today's Big Story, Doc.
Thank you.
Now, for you, what really, let me tap into your political science background. What really does this demonstration mean to Ghana's democracy and, of course, governance in totality?
So I think that demonstrations of this nature, as long as they follow due process, only enrich the democratic dispensation in the country to the extent that citizens of the country have the opportunity granted by the Constitution and activated by state agencies like the security and the government to complain about things that they feel could be done differently or could be approached from a different perspective. I think that is fine. And the president has been very magnanimous in his statement at the Senior Citizens Day today. He made it clear that he shares the concerns of Ghanaians. He's fully aware of what is going on in the country. And it isn't the case that nothing is being done. In fact, I have taken a quick look at the decision presented by the demonstrators. All the 20 points that they listed, I can tell you that each one of them, either an action has been taken on them already, some of them are already being addressed, others are fully in the process of being activated. So it appears to me that their concerns only validate the fact that some of the things that government has prioritized in recent times to do are actually the things that are of key concern to Ghanaians.
Well, most of them have talked about the general economic conditions in the country, with some of them concluding that times are hard. It's quite expensive going out there to buy things and purchasing goods and services. Things are expensive these days, making living standards quite high. But in managing their expectations, going to my question, in managing the expectations of those who demonstrated today, what really should be the posturing of government when already we have a Minister of State, Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Hannah Tete, saying on social media platform that, look, their numbers quite funny?
Well, I think that what I take from the comments that the economy has had is that Ghanaians are asking that we as a government must engage them some more. You will recall that we have had series of economic challenges. We have had an economic challenge emanating from a series of pressures in the last few months, or if not years. The introduction or the implementation of the new salary regime had, put a huge strain on our finances. But beyond that, the claim that we have attained a lower middle income status also deprived us of some funds. Multi-donor budgetary support that normally comes to support our our expenditure or our budgetary allocations has also not been coming in the last 3 years. And so a huge chunk of money that hitherto was available for socioeconomic transformation and development processes in this country is no longer there. Now, what I took from the demonstrators is that we need, as a government, to engage them more, to explain to them the circumstances under which maybe they have to bite the bullet, they have to tighten their belts, and they have to do more, and why we are implementing policies that would deal with the root of the problem once and for all. The posture of government, going forward, just 1 minute.
Okay.
The posture of government going forward is that we will engage Ghanaians a lot more by way of information, by way of communication, by way of making sure that we rally the nation behind the president's agenda of making sure that we deal with all our problems from the root rather than taking the easy way of scratching the surface.
Is that to admit to the fact that you haven't done too well? I mean, in terms of communicating to the people and letting them, understand the issues as per what government is doing to deal with the various developmental challenges the country is facing. Let me give you one example, especially when this whole talk about the fall of the Ghana cedi came about and the general situation with our economy came about. I quite remember government stance was that, look, our economy is not in a crisis and that we are challenged. And there was a back and forth debate about whether or not the economy is in a crisis or is challenged. Now, for someone who could have taken part in this demonstration, how do you expect the president to appreciate the way the trends are going and to have that assurance that government is really ready and focused to deal with the situation?
Well, I think that we are dealing with the situation, except that we have 25 million Ghanaians, and what we need to do is to engage them a lot more in the constituencies, and I don't mean electoral constituencies, in the interest constituencies within which they fit themselves and within which they have their livelihood. That, I believe, we need to do a lot more. You earlier on asked a question whether my comment was a suggestion that we are not doing enough for our communication. I would say we are doing enough, but we probably can do more, and that is what I picked from the demonstrators. I just had an interaction with a gentleman who was at a demonstration a few minutes ago before your call came, and he told me that, look, I think that you people need to communicate with us some more. And I couldn't agree with him more than that. And so we have taken that particular challenge in good faith. We will take time to engage Ghanaians on issue by issue, what the problems were, what the solutions we are putting in place are, what the benefits of those solutions would be to Ghanaians going forward, and why we think and we believe that the solutions that the president is championing currently would deal with the problem once and for all. And I think that we also need to let Ghanaians appreciate the fact that the president has decided not to take the easy way of basically going to perhaps the usual World Bank, IMF, and basically bringing more loans that will eventually create more deficit problems for us, but to deal with the problem. So the question about taxes and increments in this, increment in that, are not in any way to be punitive to Ghanaians. They are not in any way intended to punish Ghanaians. We have what we call public goods in this country. The roads, the hospitals, and the schools, and so on and so forth, are maintained, built, and run out of public money. It is less expensive to all of us if we make little contributions towards those public goods than if we were all asked to construct our own roads or our own schools or our own hospitals and so on and so forth. And so I think that it is important that we place these things in context and realize that taxes may not necessarily be bad. What is important is for Ghanaians to support a government we have all elected, and at the end of the day, measure its success by the fact that they have supported the government to deliver.
Let me just bring in Professor Amin Al-Hassan. He's a political science lecturer at the University of Development Studies. Prof, thank you very much for joining us. Doc, still stay on the line for us. Prof,
thank you very much, Prince.
Okay, now listening to presidential staffer Dr. Pesa White, he says, look, the demonstration is relevant to our governance, and it is time government looks at a trend where it would continually engage the public and aid the public understand the strides government is making to deal with some of the developmental challenges these demonstrators spelled out earlier on today. Do you think that is a crucial step to take to satisfying a number of these demonstrators today?
Well, I think we have to commend Dr. White for coming out from that angle, and I think that government's admission of this is a very important step towards understanding what has crystallized into today's demonstration. This is a civil society act. It is not a political party motivated act. And the list of grievances they have itemized are all speaking to various aspects of the Ghanaian problem that we are facing today. And I think that beyond admitting that there is a problem of communication from the side of the government, we need the government to also explain to us what is the government doing about the falling depreciation, the depreciation of the Ghanaian cedi? And is it that increasing taxes is an admission that the government has run out of ideas on how to manage the economy? What is the government doing about the power outage problems that we are facing? They keep on giving us promises that cannot hold. These are the issues that, look, the issues that they have itemized are genuine concerns that affect every Ghanaian, including the politicians. And I think that it is important that the government offers maximum attention to the issues raised today.
Talk about attention. It would really be interesting to know what form this sort of engagement Dr. Kpesa White is talking about would take. Doc, what form would it take?
Are you asking what form the engagement would take?
Exactly.
Well, I'm basically asking for a kind of dialogue and conversation among Ghanaians and with the government at all levels. At the district level, people should be able to seek and obtain information on government programs and government activities. At the national level, at the regional level, at civil society organizations, we in government will do everything we can to make sure that we supply information on government activities timely in a proactive manner to ensure that, the problem is that when we leave information vacuum or public education vacuum, especially in the information age, people use their Twitter handle, hatch buttons, and use their Facebooks to kind of fill that vacuum with information that may not necessarily be accurate. So I think that going forward, what I pick from all this demonstration and everything is that you may have been doing something that we don't know. Please explain to us what you are doing. My disappointment with the demonstrators is, I don't know if you've seen the petition that they've submitted. It's just a list of problems. They are equally Ghanaians. Governance in the modern age is a shared business. Why will you want to list the problems without even suggesting one single way of actually solving that problem? And I think this is where we need to go beyond thinking of government to do, but to equally participate in a more constructive way by putting forward on the table some ideas that equally be considered.
But Doc, what about the argument that, look, we voted you into power to deal with all this?
You don't vote a government to destroy it. You vote a government into power to support it to succeed. And one way of supporting a government to succeed is to share ideas. You don't shelve your ideas on the basis that we voted you into power, so we'll hold on to. Look, not everybody can be a minister or a staffer or an advisor or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, the generality of the Ghanaian populace should be able to share in governance. That is why we have an open and transparent government in this country.
Okay.
And so if we are not taking advantage of that opportunity, and we are only basically making a long list of complaints without providing alternative ways of dealing with those particular complaints, then I think that is a shortfall. And I believe that the group that mobilized this today will, with all due respect, accept that maybe it would have been wiser and better to add some suggestions to their complaints as well.
Prof, do you also see that as a major challenge? I think
let me state that we should really see those who demonstrated today as heroes of this country, and that whatever they did today was exactly what they are supposed to do as members of civil society. They are not responsible for the mandate of governance.
But they can equally offer alternatives.
They have offered. Listen. Look, if you look at their itemized grievances, you realize that they listed issues that had to do with lack of response from government. They had to look. They even said, when they went to Akosombo for this conference, the government had shelved it. There's no any demonstration that the government has taken those seriously. So please, let us not say that alternatives haven't been offered, suggestions haven't been made. There's a clear perception among Ghanaians that when cases of corruption are on air, government is not interested in pursuing them. Look, these are issues of perception. Government has to face it. Whether government is doing it quietly in the quiet or it is coming out boldly to tackle them, we need to know. That's why we are saying that it's not just about communication. While it is communication, we need to go beyond that. And that civil society has always been speaking to government. The government has not been listening.
Okay, let me bring Dr. Kpesa White in, and this time around, I would want us to look at government's response in this particular angle. And a couple of moments ago, I was sharing with viewers some comments Honorable Hannah Tete had made on Twitter, and what kind of reaction that is likely to trigger from those who embarked on a demonstration early on today. She was virtually laughing at the number of people that turned up at the demonstration, and she was literally talking about the fact that, look, they were even louder on social media than, the fact that they demonstrated today. Now, for you, Doc, this particular comment, really, people are likely to take it in a bad taste.
I don't really seem to even understand why you want to make this an issue. Those individuals who were demonstrating today had their right to demonstrate. Shouldn't Honorable Hannah Tete also have the right to express her views about the same demonstration?
But when a minister of state is seen,
I would prefer
as mocking
the substantive
a serious event like this.
Was this posted on a government website or Honorable Hannah Tete's personal Twitter handle?
It was her personal Twitter handle. And she's a minister of state, isn't she?
Did she say, I am saying this as a minister of state?
Well,
I think that we need to rise above some of these pettiness, seriously. The individuals have brought serious issues that they have listed. We have an important airtime. Why can't we look at them one by one rather than, talking about what Honorable Hannah Tete had said? She is a Ghanaian and she's right to express herself. And she has done exactly that. Why do you want to pick on that one? Was she the only one who commented on that issue? Several Ghanaians, as far as I follow, have been commenting on this issue. So why do you want to pigeonhole that particular one and make a big case out of it? Those individuals who demonstrated today have themselves been commenting on a number of issues. I don't know whether you were at the Flagstaff House or you were around the demonstration. You should listen to the foul language that was being used by some of the individuals against government. If you had recorded some, maybe you would have realized that this one actually pales in comparison to her particular comment.
But what does that say about the general sentiments across the length and breadth of the country? I mean, is that not to say that people are in a way angry, even including government officials?
The government's position on the petition was stated when it was received by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Dr. Valerie Soya. She made it clear that she was submitting it to the President, and the President will review it and act on it accordingly, if actions are already not being taken on this. I have reviewed them, and I can tell you that all the 20 issues, each one of them is at a certain stage in the process of delivery. So really, we are only glad and grateful to the demonstrators that they have validated what government is already doing. The issue of mood, yes, the President at the lunch with the senior citizens expressed it already. He expressed how he feels. He's deeply, deeply concerned about the situation in the country. But he is also committed to making sure that we don't leave behind a country that will fall completely in the status, and that we need to take certain bold decisions now to ensure that we pull ourselves out of the challenges that confront us today and ensure that we build a country that has opportunities for all, a country in which everybody will be able to stand very high and tall and say, I was part of building this country. This is the kind of system that the President is trying to champion. And we should really spend a lot more time dissecting that rather than, issues about individual comments.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much for talking to us, Dr. Pesa White. Let me move on to you, Professor Al-Hassan. In the case of Honorable Hannah Tete's comment, just as you heard Dr. Pesa White, is it an issue that should be swept away and ignored totally?
Well, I wish that we had treated Hannah Tete's comment with the contempt it deserves, that by simply keeping quiet over it. But however, there's an issue that we should underline here, that to him much is given, from him much better is expected. Look, Hannah Tete is a minister of the government. For her to have made those comments was clearly a case of, it's clearly a very indecent response to a very serious business of civil society. So it was quite very, very disturbing for me when I saw her tweet. And I felt very, very sorry. Why should a minister of this government have this nerve to put up, to try to trivialize such a very important civil society action? And I think that she has herself to blame, but I think we should treat it with the contempt it deserves. She wasn't a serious person when she made those comments, and I think we should just dismiss her.
Very well. Going forward, let's still look at how you think government can manage the expectations of the number of Ghanaians that throng to the streets today to express those sentiments. Now, look, deal with the economic challenges currently facing the country. That's all we want to hear from government.
I think one way that President John Mahama's government can do is to come up with, one of these days, to come up with some serious initiatives that will clearly speak to the fact that it is responding to these issues. Saying that, like Dr. White said, that there has been some number of moves, well, that is political talk, and that's a bureaucratic talk. You can always say that government is doing something about something. Those feeling it are saying that we are not satisfied enough and we are expecting to see some quick action on the part of the government, and that the government of the NDC should be informed, put on notice that we Ghanaians want to see action on the grievances listed, that we are not satisfied with what it has done so far. If it has been doing something in the quiet, we are not satisfied. Ghanaians want something better, action, evidence of initiatives, policy initiatives that have consequences that we can feel.
But
that
some
will
of
tell us that yes, we are making progress.
But some of these actions would come in a systematic form. I mean, these are processes, and they don't come instantly. And so, in managing people's expectations, what do you think government should do?
Look, I'll tell you, listen, there are those that will require long-term measures. There are those that require immediate action. For example, there's perception that some non-performing appointees are in the system. We know them, and the evidence keeps on piling up. What is wrong with government coming out to show some kind of determination, clean them away, and appoint new ones that will move on? That will why it doesn't require any long-term perspective. It requires immediate action. Now, when perceptions of corruption are coming up in the public, for example, seriously, what we expect from government is that you can come out and let us see that you are really serious about fighting corruption. But putting down some official statements, some quiet statements once in a while saying that we are doing it, we are referring to this and that, doesn't really satisfy Ghanaians. And look, if you look at the composition of today's demonstrators, they're predominantly middle class. These are people who keep on checking on the value of their income against the US dollar. And I can tell you that as a middle income myself, I have seen my real income drop drastically in the last few months. And I've seen it in my wallet. So what we are saying is that as middle class in this country will not sit by and take to some long political statements about we are serious about governance. We want to see evidence. Those that are long-term, like when we went to Akosombo, those that are long-term, we want to see that government is actually working on them. And like the demonstrators stated, government seems to be very silent on the issues that were, the communique that was issued.
And so how do we prevent the situation from getting extreme? Because I'm looking at how this whole demonstration started from the social media and linking it to other situations we've seen elsewhere on the African continent. That's exactly how it started on the social media, and people hit the streets.
And between what happened in Ghana today and what happened elsewhere, like the Arab Spring, is that President John Mahama's government was very magnanimous enough to have accepted the demonstrators to come to the Flagstaff House to give out their petition. That is progress. I was proud when I saw that happened, because I said, look, this is not a government that will shut out the protesters until it simmers and bursts out. They have responded by taking the petitioners seriously, and I think that is progress for us. We are not going to go the way of other countries.
Very well.
Ghana, we are better off than them. We have learned our lessons. We watched them mess up, and we have learned the lesson. Our government today demonstrated maturity by listening to the demonstrators, by going ahead to. They did not disperse the demonstrators with some police fire. They rather shepherded them properly and decently. Dr. Sawyer received the petition, and I think that was a very progressive act on the part of the government. Very well.
I'm going to have to thank you very much, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, for talking to us. You have a great evening, sir.
Thank you very much.
Professor Amin Al-Hassan is a political science lecturer at the University of Development Studies. A couple of moments ago, we spoke to presidential staffer Dr. Bessa White as well. And of course, this discussion certainly will go on. We'll try and pick, well, obviously, we're going to pick on what some of you have been saying on the social media as far as this issue is concerned. Up next, Gen Interactive. Stay tuned.